For 5 years, Judy Goltz had been suffering from frightening bouts of bleeding. She had been told again and again that it was nothing to worry about. Then, she met Mount Sinai Hospital's Dr. Mark Reiner.
If a patient, any patient, has repeated problems and they're not receiving an adequate answer, then it's their right and in a certain way their duty to try to get the right answer.
Dr. Reiner recommended exploratory surgery.
He said, I'm going to open you up. I'm going to go through your intestines with a fine-tooth comb. He said, we'll go piece by piece by piece.
And he looked at it very confidently, and he said, if it is this big, I'll find it.
At the hospital, Judy was prepped for surgery. As she lay in pre-op waiting, she had one request from Mike.
She said, you have to promise me, whatever it is, you come down to the recovery room and tell me. She said, promise. So I said, I promise you. I gave her a kiss and they wheeled her off, and I just went back and waited in her room for her to come up.
When I first put the laparoscope in, the first thing you do is look around and explore the abdomen visually before touching anything. I looked at her in the pelvis to look at her ovaries. These were completely normal, as was her uterus. I looked at the liver and gallbladder, which were normal, and I explored her colon, which was also completely normal.
Dr. Reiner's last words to me were saying, Mike, listen, it's about a 3-hour surgery. The longer I'm in there, that means I can't find anything. So I looked at my watch and said, wow, 3.5 hours, he didn't find anything.
I then decided to run the small bowel, which is where I thought the problem was.
And 15 minutes later, Dr. Reiner comes in, and he claps his hand, and he shakes his hands and says, hey, Mike, I found the cause of your wife's bleeds. Kind of nonchalant, and I said, oh, great, what was it? He goes, sit down. And I remember I got chills completely all over my body. I said, what? He said, I need you to sit down. And that's when he told me that he had found a tumor, a malignant tumor, that had got into her lymph system.
And the next thing I remember waking up was extreme pain. And my husband just sobbing, just absolutely sobbing. He's apologizing. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. You know, I should have listened to you.
Mike told Judy what Dr. Reiner had found.
My whole world just narrowed down to like this big. And it was just horrible, just absolutely horrible. The next thing I remember is being transferred to the room. And that was hard because now I see my mom, I see my brother, and I see my kids. I'm sorry.
The next day, Dr. Reiner came in to talk to Judy in person.
And he said, well, the bad news is you have cancer. He said, but the good news is that it's carcinoid cancer, and it's a slow-growing cancer. I cut it out. You had it in your small intestine. You had some metastasis to some lymph nodes. I yanked all those out.
Judy had struggled for 5 years to find out what was wrong with her. And now she knew. It was cancer. Though rare and slow-growing, the type of cancer that Judy has is still very dangerous. If left unchecked, carcinoid tumors can spread throughout the body. Dr. Reiner had operated just in time. With her tumor removed, Judy went home to recuperate.
And I lost all 30 pounds within 2 weeks. And although I was weak and not feeling well, I could tell that I was gonna get through this and be better.
But Judy's gastroenterologist explained that she wasn't out of the woods yet. The road ahead would be filled with testing and waiting.
When you're diagnosed with cancer, you think, okay, well, what do I have to do? You know, chemotherapy, radiation, you know, let's do it. When you're diagnosed with carcinoid, unless you actually have an active tumor where they can see it and they can deal with it, there's not a whole lot to do. It's like you have to sit back and wait for the tide to come in, and that's really frustrating.
There is a very good possibility that it is gone. It isn't going to come back. Judy eats right, exercises, does everything humanly possible.
I would say that her 10-year survival is probably in the 80% range. If she gets out to 10 years without disease, then her chances of going further than that become dramatically higher.
Being a registered nurse, Judy Goltz knew early on that something was very wrong.